Okay, what you're seeing here is goldenrod. This is more of a close-up, so let's go further away. So here is some goldenrod in my yard. Here is, oh, here, let's go back a little bit further. All right, so this is it as its whole plant. It's over 6 feet tall, so it can get pretty tall here in Nebraska. It grows along the sides of the roads. You often will see it flowering right now. Here's a little bit more of a close-up, and here's more of a close-up. And here's another photo for you, another close-up. And then here I have taken the plants apart and just am trying to do more close-ups of some plants that I have growing around that can make it a little bit easier identifiable for people. So this is even more of a close-up. This is showing your leaves and the flowers. And here is a super close-up of the leaves and stems, and you can see all these fun details in the leaves and these stems. They kind of look like they're hairy, but I don't really consider them hairy. I consider them more rough. So the stems are pretty rough. Same with the leaves. They're pretty rough feeling. And you can see here they have the alternate leaf pattern is what they call that. I am no botanist, so I do not generally give botanist terms, but sometimes I know some of the terms. But here is your leaves close up again. Here's your flowers, how they look, and then there's your flowers super close up. So if you were trying to do some identification, pictures like this can be helpful to give to identification groups. It's a little bit easier to identify. Goldenrod is not an easy one to identify. I'm pretty sure what I have in my yard is the canadensis. Let's see if I actually have that written down, what I have in my yard. No, I don't, but I think it's Solidago canadensis, which is the Latin name for goldenrod. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about goldenrod. I will let you guys look at this fun photo while I am talking about goldenrod. Tell you a little bit about it. Okay, so it's that time of year. Like I said, goldenrod is probably blooming wherever you're at. Starts to bloom in the fall. It's definitely blooming here. Many people will actually blame their allergies on goldenrod, but it doesn't actually have airborne pollen. It is pollinated by animals landing on the flowers and then, moving it around. And so I don't even know if you can shake pollen into your nose or sniff it super hard. I'm not even sure if you can have that go and be a problem. But typically at this time of year, what is happening is that ragweed is generally growing with goldenrod. So you might actually have some ragweed pollen on your goldenrod if you were to bring it in your house and then have some issues with goldenrod. So it's a showy flower, golden or ragweed. You can't even generally tell that it is flowering. So most people wouldn't even notice ragweed next to goldenrod. So that, like I said, goldenrod often gets blamed for people's allergies, but that doesn't produce that kind of pollen that gives people allergies. Okay, so goldenrod is a fabulous remedy for fall allergies, and I use it often with great success. I generally never use it alone and often combine it with nettles. It's particularly great for those who have leaky, drippy allergies with clear, thin mucus or even itchy, weepy eyes. And it's also helpful for alleviating excessive sneezing caused by allergies. And goldenrod has a specific ability to help those with cat allergies. And generally speaking, people with cat allergies have leaky, drippy allergies. However, I tend to get really stuffy allergies, and I'll get really stuffy around cats. So I would use goldenrod with other mucus thinning herbs such as elecampane, which works really, really well for me. But I've used just goldenrod and have gone to a place that has lots of cats and haven't had good success with it. So I think it works even for stuffy allergies. It is really drying, so people who tend to get stuffy allergies, that's typically drying allergies. So you wouldn't want to use a lot of it, but it works pretty well. It's also known as a mast cell stabilizer for those with mast cell activation syndrome, or otherwise called MCAS. So it can help stabilize those with that histamine intolerance. Generally speaking, people with MCAS don't tolerate alcohol tinctures very well, or teas very well for that matter. So generally, you would want to use a goldenrod glycerite in that case. So they sup- other uses of goldenrod is supporting conditions of any kind of excess discharge because of its astringent nature. It can help with diarrhea or excessive menstrual cycles. It's a really good urinary tract herb and can provide kidney support for those with weak kidneys, those who might have blood in their urine, chronic nephritis, protein in their urine, kidney stones, and it can help ease urinary incontinence and or dribbling. Um, a goldenrod is considered an aquaretic, which means it increases renal blood flow and glomerular filtration rate without stimulating potassium loss. It supports those with high blood pressure suffering from fluid retention, causing high blood pressure, and generally works in that aspect by being a diuretic or aquaretic. So when you want to harvest goldenrod is just when it starts to flower, like in this stage right here. It's not, the flowers aren't opening, but you've got plenty of yellow on there. You basically cut about the top 2 to 3 feet of the plant down into where it's not really sparse for the leaves. You chop that off and hang those upside down. I have I think they're called sock hangers. It's like this square hanger and it has little clips on it. And that's what I use to hang my herbs upside down. It's really handy. It's, for laundry. Any rate, I use that to hang my herbs upside down in my basement in a cool spot. And or you can hang them up outside. It's good to hang them upside down outside for just a little bit to get the bugs off so the bugs can go away. Shake them every now and then, get all the buggies off. But goldenrod generally isn't too buggy. Any rate, after they are dry, which you want to see that the flowers and the leaves are very crackly, like basically if you were to pinch them, they would disintegrate in your fingers because they're dry enough. Then what I do is take the top of the plant and then I just take my fingers down the stem and take all the leaves off and the flowers off that way, and then take the top of the flowers and just snip that off. And then I put them in a jar with a dry pack. I don't generally crush up my leaves because when you leave them a little bit whole, they last longer and don't break down as well. But sometimes you just kind of need to break down your herbs just space-wise. But yeah, once you get goldenrod going in your yard and established, it will keep coming back forever. And then you'll always have goldenrod, so you can just do one plant a year for yourself if you want. But yeah, I will give you guys a link to a paper that I've written up about goldenrod, or an article about it. And then you guys can keep that. It will have recipes for making a tea, tincture, and an oil. And then that way you guys can do that. Anybody have any questions on goldenrod?
So do you, just to get the plant started, do you go and find it like out in the country, or how did you do that?
I did. I found the plant in the country, dug it up, and then planted it into my yard.
Okay.
Actually, no, I didn't. It actually grew on its own. If you don't um weed eat your yard, typically things will show up there. This actually just showed up there, but I did move it from a spot that it ended up growing up right next to my house, and I spray for bugs because I don't like spiders. So actually I don't do that anymore, but back then I was like, okay, I can't use this because they spray for bugs. So I just moved it to a different part of my yard and let it grow there for 3 years. And then after 3 years, if your yard has ever been sprayed, then they say that it's okay to use plants that have been in your yard
Okay.
if it was sprayed before. So yeah, but yeah, you can I would find a smaller plant that's by itself because it kind of grows in clumps and you cannot break up those roots. I had to recently move my um, goldenrod from my backyard to my front yard, which Jennifer, you saw that, and it was really hard to break up. So, yeah, if you're finding them in the wild, then definitely find your smaller ones and replant those.
Okay.
But if you did it now, it would probably be okay, and it would grow back next year. I think you would have
Okay.
good success. Plus, it's good to pick them when they're flowering anyway, because then you know you have goldenrod.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on? All right. Stop the share. Thanks for joining us on this learning journey. Just a friendly heads up. Our teachers at Herba Remedium are here to empower you with knowledge about herbs, healthy habits, good food, movement, rest, and mindset shifts, all in support of your general well-being. We're not doctors and definitely don't diagnose, prescribe, or treat diseases. Our information or evaluations are all about helping you understand your body's unique constitution so you can support it naturally by bringing it back into balance, not medical treatment. We'll never tell you to ditch your doctor or meds, so please don't. And any health decisions you make are yours and yours alone. Our role, educators and encouragers. Everything shared here comes from a place of love of herbs and healthy habits and of learning all these things, and the belief that true healing happens when we support the body in doing what God made it to do. Thanks again.